Welcome to another edition of Meet Your Council. In our final installment of our series, we had the pleasure of speaking with Mayor Tommy Bragg. Bragg was first elected in 2002 and has dedicated the last decade to making Murfreesboro the premier city for qualitative living.
I was elected mayor of Murfreesboro in 2002. It was a very hotly contested race, and certainly I was excited with good voter turnout. And the race actually boiled down to a former council member who wanted to be mayor, and I was a retired business person, and I felt like I could offer my service to the city as a mayor, which in large part, because it's a part-time mayor, is a ceremonial, educational role, and then is kind of the leader of the city council.
Politics and civil service have long been a part of the Bragg legacy.
But I was interested in politics. My dad and my mother and my grandparents were all interested in politics, so when I sold my business, I had the time to commit to it, and I decided to run for mayor, and fortunately I was elected.
As a retired businessman, Bragg blends his previous experience with service excellence into his current position on council.
Working in a business, you have customers and you have people that do work that you work with, that you share responsibilities with, and you depend on them. And that's kind of the same way that the city is. You have customers who are the residents and business owners and visitors who come to Murfreesboro, and then you have a city staff and city people that you work with who are the front line of all the service delivery that the city has, whether it's public safety, whether it's solid waste, whether it's parks and recreation. All of those things are service delivery, and you have to make sure that your residents and business owners get their money's worth for their tax dollars.
Mayor Bragg is a native Murfreesboroan, and he's also raising the next generation of the Bragg family right here in the city.
Well, I grew up in Murfreesboro, was born at Old Rutherford Hospital in 1947. Went to schools here, went to the University of Tennessee, and then went off into the service, active duty in the United States Air Force. Came back and spent 24 years in the Air National Guard. Owned a business that was in Murfreesboro, kind of right next to where City Hall is now, and we outgrew the location. So we moved it down to the Almaville Road exit on I-24 because a lot of our business was in Nashville. And so that's kind of the background. Raised a family here, 3 children, and now have 2 grandchildren.
As an advocate for the city, Mayor Bragg is always welcoming of any feedback from its residents.
I go to events, I can stay out into the community, go to the schools. Many of the times I'm speaking to either school groups or civic social groups to talk about city government and to get feedback from people about what they like about the city of Murfreesboro, what they'd like to see, whether they'd like to see more parks and recreation programs, whether they'd like to see more speed enforcement, whether they'd like our sign regulations to be more loose or tighter, stricter, and whether they see the city going.
It's that responsiveness that has made the city of Murfreesboro one of the fastest growing cities in the country.
So a lot of what I say is that ceremonial and that educational role to make sure that they understand that the city government works for them and that the city council is responsive to our citizens and our business owners.